The galaxy was wide, full of voices, and always busy with countless signals moving from one world to another. Communication lines were like rivers in space, carrying news, trade offers, research data, and sometimes just idle chatter. Most civilizations ignored random static or small transmissions from unknown regions. But one day a signal came that made every listening station stop and listen. It was not loud. It was not even complex, yet it cut through space like a blade of light in darkness. The message was clear, spoken in hundreds of languages at once, changing smoothly between each tongue as if it knew exactly who was listening. The voice was calm, neither hostile nor weak. It said only one thing: "Do not come near Earth, this is your only warning." Then silence. No follow-up words, no demands, no threats. Just a single warning. Across the galaxy, confusion began to spread. The Ral Dominion, a proud empire of reptilian beings, was the first to receive it. Their emperor demanded answers. "Earth? What is Earth? Some forgotten planet? How dare they warn us?" Other civilizations picked up the signal soon after. The Korai, who lived in great crystal cities above their world's surface, debated whether this was a joke. The Merchant Guild of Orval suspected it was a trap, a false transmission made to frighten simple minds. Meanwhile, scholars from smaller, quieter planets tried to study the signal itself. They wanted to know who had the power to broadcast in so many languages at once and across such long distances. Within days, the entire galactic network was buzzing with one question: who were the humans and why were they warning everyone? On a peaceful water world called Moralos, a historian named Silar sat in his archive. He listened to the message again and again. The voice was strange to him, but there was something steady about it. Unlike most warnings in history, this one carried no anger. It was almost gentle, like a teacher telling a child not to touch fire. Silar whispered to himself. They are not trying to conquer. They are not even asking for respect. They are only asking to be left alone. That is unusual. Yet elsewhere, the reaction was not thoughtful. The proud and powerful Velun clans laughed at the message. To them, humans were an unknown, unrecorded species. "They must be primitives," their warlord scoffed. If they had true strength, they would have boasted about it. They hide behind words because they have nothing else. The Kether Union, a collection of trader worlds, saw it differently. Their councils worried that Earth might hold some dangerous weapon. "Why warn the galaxy unless you truly have something to protect?" One leader argued. Another replied, "Perhaps they are weak but clever, hoping to bluff and keep others away." Meanwhile, the human voice continued to play across relay stations. It did not change. It did not explain. It simply repeated at long intervals, "Do not come near Earth, this is your only warning." The calmness of the voice unsettled many. Empires that usually never agreed with one another found themselves arguing about the same mystery. Should Earth be ignored, respected, or challenged? In the halls of the Zaylor Collective, a young strategist named Orvek stood before the Council of Elders. He spread a star chart across the table and pointed to a small dot near the edge of the galaxy. "Here," he said, "this is the system from which the message came. They call it Sol. One yellow star, several planets, and this blue one is Earth." The elders leaned closer. None had ever paid attention to that system before. It was far from trade routes, far from great empires, almost hidden in plain sight. "They sit quietly at the edge of everything," Orvek continued, "yet their message travels farther than most of our own." One elder asked, "Do you believe they are a threat?" Orvek hesitated. Then he replied, "A people who speak so calmly and only once are either foolish or very certain of their strength. I do not know which, but I do not believe we should ignore them." Back on Earth, humans lived their lives almost unaware of the great storm of discussion they had started. Cities bustled, children went to school, workers built ships and machines, and governments kept their secrets close. Only a few leaders and scientists knew the true reason the message had been sent. Earth had watched the galaxy for a long time. They knew other civilizations were out there watching too. They had seen wars, seen planets destroyed, seen greedy empires expand without mercy. Humanity had survived many dangers already: wars among themselves, disasters of nature, and mistakes of their own making. They had learned a painful truth. Sometimes peace required a warning before it was broken. So Earth sent the message, not to invite contact, not to boast, but to draw a line in the dark sea of stars. The reaction continued to grow. On distant worlds, alien news networks replayed the message endlessly. Citizens argued in markets and in homes. Some said, "We should respect this mysterious Earth." Others said, "They are cowards pretending to be strong." For the first time in centuries, dozens of empires found themselves thinking about the same small blue planet. And then came the question that would change everything. Should we go and see for ourselves? Among the loudest voices was Admiral Karvik of the Ryal Dominion. His fleet was mighty, known for burning through enemy defenses in hours. When he heard the human warning, he laughed in front of his officers. "Do not come near Earth," he repeated mockingly. "We will come closer than they can imagine, and we will show the galaxy what happens when primitives try to scare us." The officers cheered, but not all of them were certain. A few remembered older legends, stories of hidden powers sometimes sleeping on quiet worlds. Still, no one dared to speak against their admiral. At the same time, on the far side of the galaxy, the merchant guild of Orval gathered in a great hall made of glass and steel. They argued for hours. "We cannot let fear rule us," one merchant said. "If Earth has something to hide, we must find it." "Imagine the trade value," another warned. "But if the warning is real, we may lose ships." The room filled with voices until the guild master raised her hand. "Enough," she said. "If others send their fleets, we will not be left behind. Let us join them. Together we will know the truth." And so the decision was made. A coalition of powers would soon prepare to move. But still, in quiet corners of the galaxy, there were those who did not join the excitement. Historians, thinkers, and small peaceful worlds listened carefully to the human voice. Some even felt a strange respect. They said to each other, "Perhaps humans are not trying to frighten us. Perhaps they are only protecting something dear to them." Yet such voices were too soft compared to the thunder of ambition rising elsewhere. The galaxy had been warned, but pride, curiosity, and greed were stronger than caution. And as the coalition of fleets prepared to gather, none of them could imagine what would happen next. The warning from Earth had not faded. It still echoed across the galaxy, carried by relays, repeated by curious stations, and whispered in countless languages. Some civilizations grew uneasy, others grew restless. The galaxy had always been full of competition, and no warning could silence ambition for long. In time, a coalition was formed. It was not born from friendship, but from pride and suspicion. Each empire wanted to know the truth of Earth, and none wanted another to discover it first. So they agreed to send a combined fleet. If Earth was bluffing, they would all see it. If Earth had something valuable, they would all claim a share. The Ryal Dominion was the loudest supporter. Their Admiral Karvik spoke before a gathering of alien commanders. His scales shone like polished stone, and his voice carried across the chamber. "These humans," he declared, "speak as if they own the stars. They warn us to stay away as if we were frightened children. But we are not children. We are the Dominion. I say we test their words. Let us go to their system and demand answers." The Orval Guild agreed quickly, though for different reasons. They cared little for pride. What they wanted was profit. Their guildmaster raised her thin hands and said, "Every secret has value. If Earth has a weapon, we must learn of it. If Earth is weak, we must open its markets. Either way, we gain." Other voices joined as well. The Valon clans hungered for conquest. The Kether Union feared being left behind. Even the cautious Zaylor Collective sent a token fleet, not because they trusted the plan, but because they wanted to watch closely. Thus, the coalition was born. On the world of Corvallis, the coalition gathered its ships. Great hangars rang with the sound of engines and metal. Massive warships, sleek cruisers, and countless smaller craft lined up in orbit. Their combined fleet shone like a storm cloud of steel and fire. Soldiers prepared for what they thought would be a simple mission. Engineers checked every weapon system twice. Commanders boasted of their strength. None spoke of fear. But in private, some of the younger officers whispered about the warning. One pilot, a member of the Korai, asked his wingmate, "What if the humans are not bluffing?" His companion laughed nervously. "Then we will finally learn why they warned us." "Do you not want to know?" The pilot said nothing more, but his wings twitched uneasily. Back on Earth, silence remained. Human leaders did not send another message. They did not argue. They did not threaten. The galaxy's debates meant nothing to them. Their warning had been given. To humanity, that was enough. In hidden bunkers and command rooms, Earth's guardians simply watched. They tracked the movement of the coalition fleet across the stars. They saw how it grew day by day, more ships joining until it became a force large enough to crush entire civilizations. But the humans did not panic. They waited, calm as ever. The coalition fleet finally departed. Engines flared and the great storm of ships left Corvallis behind. They traveled through the dark lanes of space, guided by maps and charts that marked their path to the Sol system. At first, the journey was peaceful. Officers spent their time in training halls, mess rooms, or in long meetings where commanders argued about Earth's motives. Some believed Earth had found a weapon, something hidden, ancient or powerful enough to erase fleets. Others thought Earth had nothing but pride, and the warning was a desperate attempt to protect a fragile world. But the truth was unknown, and the longer they traveled, the more curiosity grew. Admiral Karvek stood often at the command deck of his flagship, gazing at the stars. His officers reported the fleet's progress, but his mind stayed fixed on Earth. He imagined the planet, green fields, blue oceans, and cities rising toward the sky. A world that dared to tell the galaxy, "Do not come." He laughed to himself. "To think," he muttered, "that such a small world believes it can stand against us." Soon they will learn what happens when pride challenges power. His second-in-command bowed. "Admiral, the fleet stands ready. When we arrive, what are your orders?" Karvek's eyes glimmered. "Simple. We demand their surrender. If they refuse, we remind them what the Dominion does to liars." Not all commanders agreed with Karvek's boldness. On a Zaylor ship, strategist Orvek sat quietly, reviewing reports. He saw the humans' warning replayed in his mind again and again. The voice was calm, never once raised in anger. To him, that calmness was the greatest mystery. Why would anyone speak so gently to the galaxy, unless they were certain no one could break their words? When asked for his opinion during the Coalition Council meetings, Orvek spoke carefully. "I advise caution," he said. "Earth may have defenses we do not understand. We should not assume their silence is weakness." But his words were drowned by louder voices. Pride, greed, and ambition filled the room. Few cared for caution when glory seemed so near. The fleet continued its journey. Week after week they drew closer to Sol. Stars passed behind them like sparks on a dark canvas. In the lower decks of the Orval ships, merchants whispered about profit. "If Earth resists, we will break them. If they submit, we will trade with them. Either way, we win." In the Valun ships, warriors sharpened their blades and sang songs of conquest. They dreamed of adding Earth's name to their long history of victories. But among the younger crew members, pilots, engineers, and scouts, there was unease. Some could not shake the feeling that they were walking into something unknown, something bigger than they could imagine. Finally, after months of travel, the Sol system came into view. At first it looked ordinary. A single yellow star burned at the center. Planets circled in their orbits, each glowing faintly in the distance. The fleet slowed to scan. Admiral Karvek stood tall, his voice echoing across the command channels. "There it is," he said proudly, "the home of humans. And look, no defenses at the edge. No fleets waiting. They hide in silence, just as I expected." The fleet advanced closer, engines humming. Probes were sent out, scanning planets one by one. They passed rocky worlds, gas giants, and frozen moons. All was quiet, and then they reached the orbit near Earth itself. The blue planet shone like a jewel in the darkness. White clouds drifted above green lands and vast oceans. Lights sparkled faintly on the night side, signs of cities. The fleet gathered, stretching across space like a great wall. Thousands of ships, weapons ready, engines steady. It was then that the humans answered, not with weapons, not with fleets. A single transmission appeared on every screen, in every language the aliens knew. The same calm voice as before spoke again. "Step closer if you choose. You will not return, nothing more." The message ended, leaving only silence once again. On the bridge of the flagship, Karvek's officers looked to him, waiting for orders. The admiral smiled, his teeth sharp. "They still think words will stop us. Very well, we will step closer, and we will prove to the galaxy that Earth is nothing but a frightened world with a loud voice." Across the fleet, captains gave similar orders. Engines flared. Ships turned toward Earth. The challenge had been answered, and the fate of thousands was about to be decided. The Coalition fleet hung in orbit near Earth, a vast wall of ships stretching across the darkness. Thousands of engines glowed, weapons hummed with power, and commanders stood ready to record history. Never before had so many empires joined forces for a single mission. They came to prove Earth's warning false, to expose humans as weak dreamers. Yet when the last message came from Earth, the calm voice unsettled even the bravest. Step closer if you choose. You will not return. No threat of attack, no show of weapons, just certainty. Admiral Karvek, leader of the RAL forces, broke the silence first. His scaled hand clenched into a fist as he stood on his flagship's bridge. They dare speak to us as though we are insects, he growled. Very well. Let us show them what power truly is. Advance toward the planet, orders spread through the fleet. Engines roared louder and the great storm of ships began to move. Scouts flew ahead, sensors scanning for hidden defenses. Yet nothing appeared. No fleets, no weapons, not even a single satellite stronger than primitive technology. The Kether commanders sent their reports. Their defenses are minimal. The planet is alive, but their space seems empty. No resistance detected. Merchants from the Orval Guild laughed. A bluff, they said. The humans tried to frighten us, but they have nothing. We will take what they hide and sell it to the stars. As the fleet crept closer, Earth grew larger on every screen. Oceans sparkled like liquid glass. Green continents spread like painted shapes. Thin white clouds swirled in slow patterns. To many aliens it was beautiful, but they did not come for beauty. Then, without warning, the first anomaly appeared. On the sensors of several ships, small flickers of energy danced across the void. They were faint, almost like echoes. A few officers thought it was interference from the planet's magnetosphere. Others dismissed it as harmless static. But strategist Orvek of the Zaylor Collective felt a chill. Watching the faint lights, he whispered, "No. These are not random. They are patterns." He tried to warn the Council of Commanders, but his words were drowned by Karvek's loud voice. "Do not fear shadows. Continue the advance." The fleet pushed deeper, and then it happened. The first ship vanished. It was a Velan warcruiser, one of the strongest vessels in the fleet. Without fire, without explosion, without even a sound, it simply disappeared. One moment it was there, its hull shining, weapons glowing. The next moment, empty space replaced it. The fleet froze. Commanders shouted across channels. Sensors replayed data, searching for answers. Some claimed it was a malfunction, a cloaking device, a jump to another point in space. But nothing explained it. Before anyone could solve the mystery, 3 more ships vanished. This time a Kether frigate, an Orval trader, and another Velan craft. All gone in a blink. Their crew did not send distress signals. Their engines did not falter. They were simply erased from existence. Panic rippled through the fleet. Officers shouted for retreat. Pilots gripped controls with trembling hands. Some ships tried to turn away, but Karvek roared across the command channels. "Hold your ground. This is trickery. The humans use illusions to frighten us. Stay firm!" Yet even as he spoke, more ships vanished. 10, 20, 30. Entire formations disappeared without trace. No debris, no heat, no explosion. The coalition's mighty fleet began to collapse under invisible hands. Strategist Orvek stood frozen on his ship's bridge, eyes wide as he watched. He understood at last. "This is no weapon we know," he whispered. "This is something else. Something hidden, something ancient. They told us the truth, we will not return." His commander turned to him. "What do we do?" Orvek hesitated, then said, "If we stay, we are lost. If we flee, perhaps we live. But even if we survive, we cannot challenge Earth again. They are beyond us." Across the fleet, chaos grew. Captains shouted conflicting orders. Some tried to fire at Earth, unleashing volleys of plasma and light. But before their weapons struck, those ships too were erased. The attacks never landed. Others tried to retreat, but as they jumped to light speed, they vanished mid-flight, leaving no trail. It was as if space itself swallowed them. Admiral Karvek, still standing tall, refused to accept defeat. "This cannot be real," he roared. "We are the strongest armada in the galaxy. Humans are nothing. Continue, continue." But then his own flagship shook. Officers screamed as lights flickered. For one brief moment, Karvek's face twisted with disbelief. And then, the flagship was gone, along with every voice aboard. The great leader of the Dominion was erased like dust in the wind. Within minutes, the entire fleet was silent. Thousands of ships, tens of thousands of soldiers, merchants, and officers, all vanished. The galaxy's most powerful coalition force had been swallowed by the darkness of space, leaving no mark, no wreckage, no survivors. Only empty silence remained above Earth. Back on the planet, humanity watched quietly. Screens in hidden bunkers tracked every disappearance. Commanders in Earth's secret halls nodded to one another. The warning had been clear. The line had been crossed. And the Guardians, whether machines, hidden technologies, or forces far older, had done their work. Yet Earth did not celebrate. There were no cheers, no grand parades, only quiet relief. Humanity did not want conquest. They did not want destruction. They only wanted peace. The message had been given. And now the galaxy would finally understand. Far across the stars, other civilizations began to notice the silence. They had been watching the Coalition fleet's journey with great interest. But as the fleet reached Earth, reports suddenly stopped. No transmissions returned. No ships appeared on long-range sensors. At first, many thought it was a delay. But as days turned into weeks, it became clear. The Coalition was gone. Whispers spread. Fear grew. Questions rose louder and louder. What happened at Earth? Where are the fleets? How can thousands of ships vanish without trace? Some civilizations trembled at the thought of war. Others wondered if humanity had discovered technology beyond imagination. Still others whispered in fear of something stranger. Perhaps Earth was protected by powers not of human making. On the peaceful water world of Miralos, historian Salar listened again to the first warning. His gills fluttered as he whispered, "They were serious from the beginning. We laughed, we argued. But they told us clearly, do not come near Earth. Now the galaxy must listen." And so, a quiet terror spread among the stars. The Coalition, once proud and mighty, had stepped closer. And just as promised, they had not returned. The galaxy had always been noisy. Ships moved along trade lanes. Messages crossed the stars, and countless civilizations filled the void with their voices. But after the Coalition fleet vanished near Earth, silence spread like a shadow. At first, no one wanted to believe it. Surely thousands of ships could not disappear without a trace. Families waited for news of their soldiers. Merchants waited for reports of profit. Governments waited for confirmation of victory, but days passed. Then weeks. Then months. No signal returned. No ship reappeared. The fleet was gone, and fear began to grow. On the capital world of the Ral Dominion, panic shook the great halls. Their proud Admiral Karvik had promised to crush Earth, yet he and his entire fleet had vanished. The Dominion's emperor demanded answers. How can an armada vanish? He roared to his advisors. No battle scars, no wreckage, nothing. Do you expect me to believe in ghosts? But the evidence was clear. Scanners across the galaxy showed nothing. The Sol system was quiet, untouched. It was as if the fleet had never existed at all. Whispers spread through the Dominion's people. Some called Earth cursed. Others called it powerful. Many were simply afraid. The empire that prided itself on strength had lost its greatest warriors without firing a shot. The Orval Guild, always chasing profit, fell into chaos. Their merchants had invested heavily in the expedition, expecting trade and riches. Now their ships and crews were gone. In the glass halls of their guild council, leaders shouted at one another. It was the humans. They destroyed our fleet. No, another argued, they erased it. Nothing remains. What kind of technology can do that? A third voice whispered what none wanted to admit. Perhaps it was not technology at all. Perhaps Earth has something we cannot understand. The room grew quiet. For the first time, profit no longer mattered. Survival did. The Kether Union held emergency meetings. Their leaders, usually calm and balanced, argued in fear. If Earth can remove a fleet of thousands, what would stop them from striking at us? One leader asked. Another shook his head. No, if humans wanted war, they would have invaded long ago. But they did not. They only gave a warning. We ignored it. Now the fleet is gone. Silence followed those words. The truth was difficult to accept, yet undeniable. Earth had spoken only once. They had defended themselves without lifting a finger. On smaller, quieter worlds, the reaction was different. The people of Miralos, the water world, gathered in their great libraries. Historian Seller spoke to the citizens, his voice calm. "Do you see now?" he said. Humans did not shout. They did not boast. They warned. And when the warning was ignored, they acted with certainty. We should not fear them as monsters. We should respect them as guardians. Many nodded in agreement. Some even felt a strange admiration for the humans. To them, Earth was not terrifying but wise, like an old tree standing firm in a storm. Still, across much of the galaxy, fear outweighed respect. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed Earth had uncovered weapons from an ancient race, long buried beneath their soil. Others whispered of strange beings who lived beneath Earth's oceans, guardians who erased intruders. Some even believed Earth had allied with forces outside the known galaxy. Whatever the truth, one fact remained. A fleet had vanished. Strategist Orvek of the Zalar Collective, one of the few survivors who had not gone with the coalition fleet, now spoke carefully to his council. "I warned them," he said softly. The calmness of the humans was not weakness. It was strength. They spoke as those who had nothing to prove. The elders of the collective listened closely. For a long time they had feared war with stronger empires. Now they looked toward Earth with new thoughts. Perhaps, one elder said, we should seek friendship with them. A people who do not hunger for conquest, yet can defend themselves so surely, would be valuable as allies. Another elder frowned. Or dangerous as enemies. But Orvek shook his head. If humans wished to conquer, they would have done so already. They remain on their world. They defend, but they do not invade. That is their way. Meanwhile, in the markets of neutral worlds, children whispered stories about Earth. They say the humans can make whole fleets disappear with a thought. My teacher says Earth is protected by invisible guardians. No, another child argued. My uncle says humans discovered a secret weapon that bends space itself. The truth did not matter. What mattered was the legend, and the legend was spreading fast. Back on Earth, humanity remained quiet. No celebrations filled their cities. No new warnings were sent. The world went on as before. Children studied in schools. Workers built machines. Farmers cared for their fields. But deep beneath mountains and hidden bunkers, leaders watched carefully. They knew the galaxy was afraid. They knew rumors were spreading. And they also knew silence was their strongest shield. One leader said in a quiet council meeting, "We gave them one warning. They ignored it. We defended ourselves. Now we wait. Let the galaxy think what it wishes." Another replied, "Yes, fear will keep them away. Curiosity led them here once. It will not again." Yet curiosity is a fire that never dies completely. On the edge of the galaxy, a group of explorers debated whether to visit Sol secretly. "Perhaps not all ships vanish," one said. "Perhaps if we are careful we can learn the truth." But another shook his head. The warning was for all. If even mighty fleets could not return, what chance do we have? Their ship turned away. The mystery of Earth would remain unsolved. In time, Earth became a symbol. For some, it was a place of terror, a planet never to be approached. For others, it was a story of wisdom, a reminder that calm words can be stronger than weapons. For children across the stars, Earth became a legend told at bedtime, the cryptic world, where fleets vanish and warnings must be obeyed. On Miralos, historian Sailor wrote in his records, "Earth does not need to shout. Earth does not need to fight. It speaks once and the galaxy listens. This is not the way of conquerors. This is the way of survivors who have learned patience. The galaxy may fear them, but I believe in time it will also respect them." His words were copied and shared, spreading among peaceful worlds. Slowly, the idea of Earth as a protector, not a destroyer, began to take root. But not all were satisfied. In the dark corners of the galaxy, some empires whispered of revenge. They could not accept their pride broken so easily. Plans formed in secret. Schemes were whispered. Yet each time such plans were spoken, someone always asked the same question. If thousands of ships vanished, what chance do we have? The room would grow silent and the plans would be abandoned. And so the galaxy moved on. Trade continued. Wars between other empires flared and faded, but Earth remained untouched, a silent center of mystery. No fleets approached again. No probes dared to linger too close. Earth had spoken once, and that was enough. In the end, the galaxy reacted not with attack, but with caution. Respect, fear, and curiosity blended into one truth. Earth had drawn a line, and no one dared to cross it again. The galaxy had changed. Once Earth was unknown, a quiet blue world hidden on the edge of the stars. But after the vanishing of the coalition fleet, it became a name carried in every corner of space. Some spoke it with fear. Some spoke it with respect. Others whispered it with wonder. Yet through it all, Earth itself remained the same. In the bustling cities of humanity, life continued as usual. Children still laughed in schools. Farmers still planted crops. Workers still built machines and ships. To ordinary people, the galaxy's fear was distant, like a storm beyond the horizon. Only a few leaders and guardians knew the full truth of what had happened. They gathered often in secret chambers, far beneath the surface of Earth. Screens showed stars and quiet voices discussed the galaxy's reaction. "They fear us," one leader said, "and because they fear us, they will not come again." Another answered, "Fear keeps us safe." But fear also spreads rumors. "One day someone may test us again." The room grew silent. Every leader understood. Humanity had survived, but survival required patience. Earth could not afford pride or recklessness. Their greatest strength was silence. Across the stars, civilizations reacted in their own ways. The Zaylor Collective sent no fleets, but they sent quiet messages into the void, messages of peace. They did not expect a reply. Earth never answered. Yet still the Zaylor continued, hoping one day the humans would trust them enough to respond. The peaceful world of Miralos began to teach Earth's story to its children. Historian Sealer's writings became lessons in their schools. Respect warnings. Respect silence. And respect those who speak calmly, for calmness often hides great strength. But not every world learned such lessons. In hidden corners, some empires plotted revenge. The Valen clans whispered in their war halls, dreaming of a day when they could avenge the humiliation of their vanished ships. Yet each time they gathered their courage, fear returned. If Earth could erase 1,000 ships, their warlord muttered, how many more could they erase? No one answered. The plan was abandoned again and again. Meanwhile, the galaxy itself began to change in subtle ways. Merchants avoided routes too close to Sol. Explorers drew maps with a great empty circle marked "Do Not Enter." Children played games pretending to be humans, standing tall and warning imaginary fleets. Even storytellers changed their tales. Once legends told of ancient empires and lost kings. Now they told of Earth, the quiet world that spoke once and silenced the galaxy. Back on Earth, humanity's scientists continued their work. They built stronger ships, studied the stars, and prepared for dangers yet to come. They did not seek to conquer. They sought to endure. In one laboratory, a young engineer named Lila stood before a great machine. It hummed with hidden power, the same kind of power that had erased the coalition fleet. She touched the console gently and whispered, "The galaxy will never understand this, and maybe that is for the best." Her teacher nodded beside her. "Yes, to reveal our secrets would invite greed. Better they remain mysteries. Better the galaxy only knows the warning." Among humanity there were debates too. Some argued for silence, for staying hidden forever. "If the galaxy fears us, let them," they said. "It keeps us safe." Others argued for openness, for slowly building trust. "We cannot live in isolation forever. One day we will need allies." But always the final voice in the council was the same. Calm, steady, unshaken. We warned them once. That is enough. The galaxy must choose whether to respect us. Until then we will wait. We will grow. We will endure. On distant worlds, this patience became its own kind of power. The Ral Dominion, once loud and proud, grew quiet. They no longer spoke of conquest near Sol. They no longer mocked Earth. Their people whispered instead of curses and shadows, of fleets that never returned. The Orval Guild shifted its trade away from Earth's region, fearful of losing more ships. Their merchants told each other, "Profit is nothing if we cannot return to spend it." The Kether Union, wiser than most, began to quietly spread the belief that Earth was not an enemy, but a warning to all. They told their people, "Do not mistake calmness for weakness. The humans have shown us the cost of arrogance." Slowly, Earth's legend grew beyond fear. Some began to see it as hope. A galaxy filled with empires of greed and pride now had a new balance. No empire, no matter how large, could claim to rule over all. For somewhere, on a small blue planet, lived a people who could not be conquered. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy hesitated. War slowed. Ambition softened. And all because of one message. Do not come near Earth. This is your only warning. Strategist Orvek of the Zaylor Collective watched this change carefully. In his heart, he believed Earth's silence was a gift, not a threat. He told his people, "The humans are a mirror. They show us what happens when pride blinds us. We must learn from them. When asked if he feared humans, Orvex smiled faintly. No, I respect them. For they could have destroyed us all, yet they chose not to. That is true strength. On Earth, years passed. Children grew. New generations were born. The galaxy's fear became a story, then a legend, then almost a myth. Yet humanity never forgot. In their schools, teachers reminded students of the warning. We spoke once, and the galaxy listened. Never forget why. We do not seek war, but we will defend ourselves. And the children nodded, their eyes wide, not with fear, but with pride. One night, as stars shone bright above the cities, an old leader of Earth stood by a window. She looked out at the dark sky where countless civilizations lived and watched. She whispered to herself, "We are not conquerors. We are not rulers. We are survivors. Let the galaxy fear us if it must. One day, perhaps, it will also understand us." In time, Earth's story became more than legend. It became a lesson carried across the stars, that true strength does not need to shout, that survival is not always about conquest, that sometimes a quiet voice can be louder than any weapon. And so humanity lived on, quiet and patient, their strength hidden but unbroken. The galaxy never forgot. Earth had spoken once, and that was enough.